Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I am Shade Nightingale, and I humbly welcome you to my modest domain, which is modest in all of its humbleness. That does make sense, right? Anyway, I have come to you today in order to read a new poem. A poem that was written by Lewis Carroll called The Jabberwocky. Now just sit back, relax, and listen to Shade recite for you the Jabberwocky. Yes. 'Twas Bree-League, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the momaroffs outgrabe. I thought I would sing that for you. Anyway, beware the Jabberwocky, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the jubba bird, and shun the frumious bundersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long tame the mansome foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwocky, with eyes aflame, came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came, 1-2, 1-2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frubjous day, callooh, callay, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas Bree-League, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the momaroffs outgrabe. That was the Jabberwocky. That might have been a little difficult for some of you to understand. Thankfully, Mr. Carroll was kind enough to give a kind of explanation of sorts when Alice went off to meet Humpty Dumpty. I shall read that segment for you now. "You seem very clever at explaining words, sir," said Alice. "Would you kindly tell me the meaning of the poem Jabberwocky?" "Let's hear it," said Humpty Dumpty. "I can explain all the poems that ever were invented, and a good many that haven't been invented just yet." This sounded very hopeful, so Alice repeated the first verse. "'Twas Bree-League, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the momaroffs outgrabe." "That's enough to begin with," Humpty Dumpty interrupted. "There are plenty of hard words there. Bree-League means 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the time when you begin broiling things for dinner." "That'll do very well," said Alice. "And slithy?" "Well, slithy means lithe and slimy. Live is the same as active. You see, it's like a portmanteau. There are 2 meanings packed up into one word." "I see it now," Alice remarked thoughtfully. "And what are toves?" "Well, toves are something like badgers. There's something like lizards, and there's something like corkscrews." "They must be very curious creatures." "They are that," said Humpty Dumpty. "Also they make their nests under sundials. Also they live on cheese." "And what's to gyre and to gimble?" "To gyre is to go round and round like a gyroscope." Cutting in for just a simple moment here, The word gyre should be infinitely familiar to anyone who's ever studied William Butler Yeats. To gimble is to make holes like a gimlet. And the wade is the grass plot around a sundial, I suppose, said Alice, surprised at her own ingenuity. Of course it is. It is called wave, you know, because it goes a long way before it, and a long way behind it. And a long way beyond it on each side, Alice added. Exactly so. Well then, Mimsy is flimsy and miserable. There's another portmanteau for you. And a borough is a thin, shabby-looking bird with its feathers sticking out all round, something like a live mop. And then Momaroffs, said Alice, if I'm not giving you too much trouble. Well, a roth is a sort of green pig, but Moma I'm not certain about. I think it's short for from home, meaning that they'd lost their way, you know. And what does outgrabe mean? Well, outgribing is something between bellowing and whistling, with a kind of sneeze in the middle. However, you'll hear it done, maybe, down in the wood yonder. And when you've once heard it, you'll be quite content. Who's been repeating all that hard stuff to you? I read it in a book, said Alice. I think that's enough for right now. Yes, indeed. Carol had quite a gift for inventing new words, I think. Perhaps I'll read more of Carol at a later date. But not just yet. Thank you very much for tuning in to listen to an old wraith. I do hope you liked this little video of mine, and I do hope to see you again. I will be here waiting for you in the Citadel.